Well, if you've joined me for the first part of this painting, you knew that I left off by questioning whether I had too much blue on the canvas or not, and how the black would help me determine that, and kind of compare the black with the blue to see if the blue is too vibrant or too dark, too saturated or not. And I think it might be slightly, especially in the upper area, I want there to appear to be light coming through, especially the left portion up here. And so I might lighten up some of the blue, but I'm not ready to do that yet. I'm going to move on to the trees. So let's talk about how we're going to get started with these trees. So I've got here, it's pretty easy to get started, just some black, carbon black, and permanent green light. And I want the green because I don't want there to be a true black. I'm going to get an old brush here just to mix some of these colors. So what I'm going to do, I'll probably just take all this green, and I'm just going to mix that green with the black. And it doesn't make a real difference, but it does slightly. So, and that slight difference is what counts. So we've got that green mixed in with the black now. And what I'm going to do to get started with these trees is just to get some water on my brush, pick up some of this dark greenish black. And I'm going to paint the silhouette of these trees first and foremost, starting with, of course, we have the darkest color on here. And I'm going to start going through, I'm going to really study this, make sure that I have my tree. And this is totally up to personal preference and a bit of my reference photo too. And I'll have the reference photo pop up so you can see what I'm talking about. But these trees are going to be a bit taller, actually a lot taller in most of these areas. And so that's kind of personal preference, how tall you want the trees to go. I'd like to cover up, I'm going to hide quite a bit of this lower area. I just want bits and pieces of it to show up. So what I'm going to do, just like I'm doing right now, is start by outlining the trees. And I'm going to have some taller trees here. So let's just imagine that right there is and it's kind of leaning a bit, that's all right. Let's imagine that is our tree trunk. And we'll start with the top. Kind of use that tree trunk as a guide. And then carefully, there's really no way to shortcut this, carefully with a liner brush, I'm going to add the silhouette of all the boughs, the branches, and just work my way down. Really no wrong way to do any one of these branches. You just have to key in on the overall pattern that you're after and just try to emulate that pattern as best that you can. Kind of go down the middle here. Grab some more paint. And it's always good to go little. To have too much pattern on your tree can kind of ruin what you have. It can especially destroy the background. So it's always good to go less the first part of painting a tree rather than having there to be too much tree. So start out small and skinny and then maybe add more branches further out as you move along. Adding too much branch can kind of allow yourself to get ahead of yourself, and that's never good. So start small, start little, and work your way out from the tree trunk. This attention to detail, you just kind of have to find the joy in painting these trees. It's not for everybody, but if you want to have a lot of realism, you really have to pay attention to these small details. Okay. And I'll just kind of build out. We'll just start from right there. Say we got another one hiding right next to it. Just kind of blend all this together. And of course we've got this tree right here. We'll have this one stand more straight. And we'll go all the way up to the top. And then I'm going to continue this process all the way across this tree line to every one of these trees. And so it's going to take a little while. And then once I finish this step of creating the silhouettes, we'll come back and we'll add some detail over the top of these trees. So right after I finished the trees, I decided to, before I added any more detail to these trees, I decided to just lighten up some of the blue in the back. And I did that by just mixing the same color blue that I had originally down here. And I just added some white to that. So just a lighter color that I buffed on, and just had to tweak some of the transitions after I did that. Just kind of gives, I think, a better atmospheric look. Just as it fades away, we want that blue to get a little bit lighter and more faded as well. So I did that right through this area, a couple spots through here. But let's talk about the trees. The next step with these trees is to basically start adding highlights. Now, these highlights are going to be fairly subtle. And what I'm going to be doing is taking some, basically the same colors, green, except for there's going to be more green this time. So I'm going to take some green, and that might actually, I was thinking about maybe having to add some white, but this green itself might be good enough. So I've got quite a bit of green mixed with some black. It's just lighter than what we have. And I'm going to be going over the tops of these trees. And let's just start with this one right here in the middle. Now I think I can already tell that I'm going to want some white. I'm going to take some white and black. Let's just have some gray just to tone this back. It's just too saturated for me. Okay, so more of a gray, still quite a bit of a green tone to it. All right, I think that'll work. Now, I'm going to be going basically on the top of all of these areas of black, anywhere where I put a branch. Now again, this is going to be super tedious. It's quite a long process, but I'm going to be just spotting on these subtle indications of highlights. Now that was too much right there. I'm going to try to just wipe some of that off. I think that'll work. Okay. Now don't be too worried about, if you're making trees this way, don't be worried about screwing anything up, because we can always take black. Simple enough, just take some black and add it back over the top of this to just kind of reset anything that you might have screwed up on or just didn't feel good about. Okay, so now what's going to happen here is as I get further down into the black, what I want to start doing is creating more of a shadow in the middle of these trees, but also at the same time, there's going to be some other trees that we want to show up as well. So this tree, let's say this tree to the left right here, as this comes down, we'll have to have some highlights up top on this tree, but let's have this one start to overlap this big tree here. So you want to create depth in these trees by overlapping each other. So this tree will eventually kind of take over this one back here. And it'll kind of fade off down into this area. So it's going to be a slow start. You're not going to see all the benefits of this right away. So it's not any one tree that's going to bring this together for you. It's just going to be the combination of being consistent throughout all the trees, adding details to every one, being very patient, consistent with the pattern, and just going back, next tree, very slowly. So, just as we did with the black, I'm going to spend a good portion of time with this green, just building up these trees. I'm just using a simple liner brush to do this. So you'll see me kind of go across the entire painting, and then once that's finished, we'll slow it down and continue on. Okay, so one of the last things that I'm going to be doing to the trees is I'm going to be including some dead ones. Now I've just mixed up a gray here. And I actually might want some blue with that gray. And we'll work on this one here, but there's going to be just some random dead trees. And really, you can't go wrong with a dead tree whatsoever. Just branches. I'll put them in various locations. You can see I really don't think about it a whole lot. Just get it on there. And so I'll work a little bit more on some of these dead trees. I just wanted to show you real quick how I will do that. This one over here needs to be more blue. Work on that as well. Could probably just erase it and start over. And there'll be a bigger one here. Get some more water mixed with the paints. So that's one of the things that I'll work on as I start to finish up this painting. I don't know how far I'm going to go with this, but I want there to be a number of dead trees. There's quite a few out there. Okay, so, and this one's bugging me. I'm just going to take some black. And I'll redo that one. Or leave it, we'll see. But can fix things just as easy as that. All right, last thing I'm going to be working on is, of course, the foreground. I'm grabbing some blue. I want some green in there, not a lot. Blue, green, white, mostly black. I'm going to create some darker streaks. Then I'm going to grab some white and blue. This will just be a lighter blue-gray. A little more blue. I'll kind of go right up to the bottom edge of the trees. Just block that in. Same thing with down through here. Make sure that's mostly covered. Okay. Now, what I'm going to start to do is add the indication of rocks. And I'm going to need to get some more blue. Just like the trees, I want some blue in this gray. So
So I'm going to be grabbing some white and blue, mixing some of this gray in here. You could just use black if you ran out of that gray. And I'm going to cover this foreground with little rocks here and there. So this is a rock slide. So I think I said before, most of this mountain is all rock. Everything you see in pink up there is rock. And it gets kind of a nice coursey sand-like in between the rocks. So we've got a mixture of sand and rocks, I think you could say. So these aren't going to be extremely large rocks through here, but there's going to be a lot of them. And I'll just kind of go back and forth and just mix these textures through the foreground of the streaks and the rocks until I have tons of texture through here. And then the transition where the trees are, I'm going to take some black along with some of this blue-gray color. And I'll start to blend. We'll just pick one little spot right here. I'll start to blend the two areas together as if maybe the trees are casting some shade out into the open. Just kind of go back and forth, mixture of gray and black, gray and black. And then I'll kind of use that same mixture as well when I'm working on these streaks of sand. And so it's pretty much the rest of the foreground is just this process right through here, repeated over and over until everything has a lot of detail, just like the trees, and it'll just start to fall into place. And then what I might do also is just add some larger trees over here, and the way that I'll do that will be the same as the background. I'll have some green along with some black. I'm sorry, the same as the tree line. I'll have some green along with some black, and I'll start laying in the silhouette of where I want these trees to be. And then once I have kind of the outline of the trees, so these would be just the base of the trees, the boughs right on the bottom. I'll just start taking some more green and white, mix with some black, and I'll simply add some highlights over the top, and we'll start to create some slight indication of some trees through here. And so once I finish this with that, we're going to have the foreground complete. Everything is going to be tentatively completed. I still might tweak some areas, and then I know I said that I would be adding some additional elements to this other than what is in the reference photo, and I've decided to make a third video on that. So you're going to have to wait for those additional elements. So for right now, I'm just going to finish up the foreground, and then we'll talk about it at the end and get ready for wrapping up some cool features in the next video.
Now I'm really happy with how this foreground is coming together. If you take a look at the reference photo, I think everything is working out very well. However, there's a few things that I'd like to continue to add. I'm thinking perhaps some wildlife, and I'm going to decide what that is and then try to share that in the next video, as I said. But for right now, if you guys had any questions, please be sure to leave them in the comments. I'll be happy to try and answer anything I can. And as always, if you'd like to support my channel, check out my free print giveaway as well as my eBay auctions and website. All of those links are in the description below. Thank you again so much for watching. See you next time.